Hey guys, this is God of Politics. I'm going to a brand new video, but before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. But in today's video, I do want to talk about the state of Florida and answering the question, is Florida gone for the Democrats? Is Florida going to become a state that's more lean Republican, maybe even likely Republican in the future? Because, of course, Donald Trump did perform very well in the state of Florida. He won it by 3.3 percentage points, which is the largest victory for any candidate for president in Florida since George Bush back in 2004 when he won the state by just over 5 percentage points. Of course, that was one term after the infamously close election in 2000. So Donald Trump did perform very well in the state of Florida, and that was due to good performances in areas like Miami-Dade County, which swung 22 points Republican, as well as areas like Osceola County, which swung 11 points Republican, and also Broward County, which swung 5 points Republican, Palm Beach County, which swung 2.6% Republican. And these are three absolutely huge counties, and to have swings that large in those counties did net Donald Trump a lot of votes, despite the fact that many areas actually did trend towards Joe Biden by quite a substantial margin. You know, you look at Duval County, it swung 5 points to him. Okaloosa County, it swung 8 points. Santa Rosa County, 6.4 points. Escambia County, 5.2 points. Seminole County, 4.4 points, etc. So, you know, Biden, of course, like he did nationwide, performed better in areas that are whiter and more suburban, whereas Donald Trump performed better with the more Latino voters, specifically Cuban voters, of which there are a lot of in Miami-Dade, which propelled that big shift, which we also saw in other places, particularly the Rio Grande Valley. So that was one of the not-so-good spots for Democrats in this election. They did have some problems, but at the presidential level, at least, Joe Biden performed better in almost every single state, with the exception of a few, one of which was the state of Florida, and that is being a big cause of concern for many Democrats. And they have new leadership now. They do have a new leader of the party. Florida Democrats tap former Miami mayor to resurrect shell-shocked party. Now, this is an article from the 9th of January. Today is the 31st of January, but I still did want to talk about it because it is very relevant. But Democrats have pinned their hopes on Manny Diaz, the new head of the Florida Democrats, entrusting the former Miami mayor to revive the party's fortunes after a disastrous election cycle where President Trump won the state and Democrats lost congressional and legislative seats. It says Diaz defeated two other candidates for the chairmanship during the annual meeting of the Florida Democratic Party, which was held virtually due to the coronavirus pandemic. He said, "Our Florida Democratic Party is at a crossroads. While Democrats all over the nation make gains, we continue to lose ground. We continue to lose elections." Now, this is true. You know, you look at the congressional level, Democrats lost two congressional seats. They lost the 26th district and the 27th district. Those are in the Miami-Dade area. So that was not a good spot for Democrats. They also lost seats at the legislature. And of course, they performed worse at the presidential level. And so I do think that this is a good pick to lead the the Florida Democratic Party. He is from Miami. You know, he was the Miami mayor. He's also a Cuban, because there were a lot of attacks of the Democrats, of Joe Biden, of people like Donna Shalala, who lost their congressional seat, saying that they were socialists who were going to turn America into what Cuba was like. But when you have a Cuban leading the Democratic Party and he embraces the Democratic platform, maybe it makes those voters a little less, it makes it easier for them to vote for the Democratic Party, which in theory could make sense, but we'll see how that actually turns out. Because, you know, money's of course not an issue. Michael Bloomberg spent $100 million in Florida during the 2020 election cycle, and you know, it didn't really do much at all. So Democrats really now only have one statewide elected official, and that is Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried, who won by like 6,000 votes in 2018. And there's a lot less votes in that race than there were the governor and senate race. A lot of Republicans really just left the race blank. That's really the reason why she won. She might even lose in 2022. It's not looking like DeSantis is going to lose, and it's sure not looking like Marco Rubio is going to lose. DeSantis is at around 55% approval rating, which is quite good for the state of Florida. I do think he'll probably win by around 3 to 4 percentage points. Marco Rubio probably around 9 to 10 percentage points, maybe even a little bit more. He won by 8 percentage points in 2016. He might even win Miami-Dade County outright, but this could be a good thing for Democrats. I do think putting a new leadership at the helm, I think this could be a good move, but it is still going to be quite difficult for Democrats to win, because not only do you have the factor that they did lose this election and they did lose seats in Congress, you're going to have the fact that there's going to be more redistricting changes that are going to hurt the Democrats. And that is going to be a problem with the congressional map, which currently is 15-12 in favor of the Republicans, and you could see that it goes to an 18-11 map. Now, I'm not too sure about this because the Florida Constitution does ban partisan gerrymandering, but you could make a claim that this gives more minority voting rights, which is what they make the claim with the current map. You can see with the 5th district here, it is a more black majority district, making the argument that, it's not partisan gerrymandering, it's just giving minority voting rights. And I think that it probably would pass with the Florida Supreme Court, which is 7 Republicans and 0 Democrats, because of the fact that Republicans have dominated at the state level in the state of Florida. And so this would get rid of a number of Democrats, not necessarily incumbent Democrats. Maybe they get rid of Charlie Crist's seat. Maybe they do that. But it would also shore up seats for Republican incumbents. Plus, it would give them the 2 new seats that are going to come with their additional 2 electoral votes. So it's going to be quite an interesting thing to see with that changes in the redistricting. So Democrats are going to lose at the congressional level, they're going to lose at the state legislative level, and then you're already put at a disadvantage when it becomes very difficult to win because the fact that it's gerrymandered so bad. But it is possible, and I think that there is a path for them to do it. But one of the big things is that aside from, states like Texas and a couple other states, really Republicans do not do well in large counties. But there are a number of large counties in Florida where Republicans net a lot of votes. See, if we look at the size of the lead, Republicans do net a lot of these votes in the central Florida area along the coast here, and they do not really get those kind of net votes in really any other states. Georgia, not really the same thing in the deep south and in the Midwest. Sure, it exists in Texas, like I pointed out, but really it doesn't exist in very many states. So there's a lot of large counties where they do well, where the Republicans do well. You don't really have that many rural areas besides the Panhandle area, which isn't as much of a vote net. They don't net as much votes to Republicans as they do along this coastal region. And there's a lot of room for Republicans to gain because these are counties that trended slightly Republican. Some of them trended slightly Democrat, but they're not that Republican overall. So there is still room for Republicans to gain. And of course, there's room for Republicans to gain in the Miami-Dade area, the South Florida area, because, you look at the voter registration numbers in Miami-Dade County. Of course, Mitch voters on Twitter, you should go follow him. He does have a lot of this information. But of the new registrations since the general election to January 1st, 46% Republican in Miami-Dade, 15% Democrat. So there's a lot of indications saying that Miami-Dade County is going to continue to trend towards the Republicans. Miami may be one of the first cities we see that actually is truly a Republican city. Maybe that's a stretch, but we'll have to see, because you look at a lot of these other areas, Republicans are doing well in some areas, they're not doing as well in other areas. Osceola County, there's a lot of non-party affiliated voters being registered, which we don't really know how they're going to go. Duval County, which is supposed to be a county that's trending towards the Democrats, is now shifting towards the Republicans in terms of voter registration. And you can see these numbers in the overall registration numbers as well. You look at the 2020 overall voter registration, Republicans are about to eclipse Democrats in terms of overall people registered. And while Democrats do have a slight edge in non-party affiliated, it's kind of hard to tell that. Sure, the exit polls showed that, but really I'm not that sure. There's also probably some Democrats that do vote for Republicans, maybe some Latino Democrats that did vote for Republicans in the 2020 election. But you compare that to the past data, Democrats are currently at 5.3 million. Back in 2008, they were at 4.8 million. So really, they've only netted 500,000 since then. Even in 2012, they were at 4.8. In 2016, they were at 4.9. Whereas, they really haven't netted that much, because you look at the current data, Republicans are at 5.2. That's almost a 500,000 gain in just a year. And they were pretty stagnant overall, the Republicans. They are all the way down at 4.2 back in 2015. Now they've gone up 1 million to 5.2. So they are gaining. And not only are they gaining with the Republican registrations, but independent registrations as well. And there is going to be a lot of problems for Democrats, but that's not to say that the state is gone for the Democrats. If you had that same mindset, then you would say that, Florida was gone for Democrats after 2004 because, Bush won it by 5 percentage points, but then Obama comes along and wins it by 2 percentage points. But then you also have to take into account the fact that in 2004, Bush won the popular vote by around 2 percentage points. He won Florida by 5 percentage points. It voted 3 points to the right of the country. In this election, Joe Biden won the popular vote by 4 percentage points. Trump won Florida by 3 percentage points. That's 7 points to the right of the country. And so you do have to keep in mind that fact, because it does show that Florida is shifting right. And that's an objective fact, at least from this election. And will that continue in the future? It's another open question, and there's no way to settle that in this video. But I do think that there are a number of signs that do indicate that. I used to be a lot more bullish on the Democrats' chances in the state of Florida. I just thought, Joe Biden was a bad candidate with Latinos. Any other Democratic candidate, or at least a Democratic candidate that can do well with Latinos, will be able to win the state of Florida by doing well in those Miami-Dade County areas and doing well enough in those whiter areas that shifted towards Biden in this election, while also netting votes in areas where they should really be doing better, areas like Pinellas and Hillsborough County, areas like Duval County, areas like Seminole County. And so I do think that they will be able to do that, but it is going to be very difficult because, people that did do well in Florida, Obama is probably the best example of that recently in terms of Democrats that did well in Florida. He's a very special candidate, and he did do very well with Miami-Dade area, and Hillary did even better than him, but he also did very well in the areas that he did need to do well, and Obama was a special candidate. It's going to be hard to replicate that. So I think it's going to be very difficult for Democrats to continue winning in Florida. I don't think they're going to have a good year in 2022. They're going to lose a number of congressional seats. They're going to lose in the state legislature. They're going to lose the governor election probably by around 4 percentage points, the Senate election by around 9 percentage points. They're probably going to lose the agricultural commissioner seat. Maybe the Nikki Fried, who is the agricultural commissioner, maybe she runs for governor, probably loses by a couple points. But I do think there are some signs saying Democrats could do well. New party leadership, new registrations in some counties, gains in some counties, and there's also things that are bad for them. Registrations in some other counties, the shifts that you're seeing in Latino-heavy areas, just the nature of the state. But overall, I'll leave it up to you guys. What do you guys think? Do you think Florida's become a more Republican state? Do you think that Democrats could continue to win it? I'm really unsure. I think it could really go either way, but if I had to make a decision, it's going to keep shifting a little bit more Republican, probably going to be a stagnant state at around lean Republican, but Democrats can still win the state. So thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.